The night I got my brother arrested at my own housewarming party, the party I never even threw, the sky broke open with rain. I stood across the street, soaked to the bone, watching red and blue lights pulse through the windows of what was supposed to be my dream home. And do you know what I felt? Nothing, no guilt, no regret, just the cold, steady satisfaction of finally watching the person who had taken everything from me his entire life face real consequences. If you've ever been the family scapegoat, the one who worked while everyone else coasted, then you'll understand this story. Subscribe to Revenge with Mary, because tonight, you'll see what happens when the quiet one finally stops being quiet. The day I got my keys, it was raining, not a storm, just a soft, steady drizzle, the kind that makes the whole world smell clean again. The house sat on a hill above a calm lake, framed by towering pine trees that looked like they'd been guarding the land for centuries. The moment I stepped through that iron gate, something in the air shifted. You know that feeling when life finally tilts in your favor? When the ground under your feet doesn't feel borrowed anymore? That's what that moment was. That small, heavy key in my hand wasn't just metal. It was every skipped meal, every late night spent working while my laptop screen glowed against tired eyes. It was every ignored phone call from my mother. Every time I let her, "When are you coming home, Madison?" go to voicemail because the truth was, I wasn't coming home. I was building one. Growing up, I was invisible. Aaron, my golden child brother, was the family star. When he made the basketball team, it was banners and cheers. When I quietly won academic scholarships, it was silence. When he got a brand new car for graduation, I was juggling 3 part-time jobs to afford community college. When he needed bail money at 22, Dad emptied my college fund without a word. Family helps family, he said. But when I asked for help buying textbooks, suddenly I was an adult now who needed to figure it out. So, I did. Alone. Inside my new house, the floors creaked softly, a comforting sound that made the space feel alive. Fresh paint still lingered in the air, and when I passed the hallway mirror, I almost didn't recognize the woman looking back. Older, maybe a little worn down, but free. God, I looked free. I walked from room to room whispering, "This is mine." Not to prove anything, not out of pride, just to make it real. That night, I slept on the bare floor with nothing but a moving blanket, the rain tapping gently against the roof. For the first time in 6 long years, I didn't wake to shouting. No cabinet slamming. No Aaron laughing too loud while Mom worshipped every word. Just peace. Beautiful, hard-earned peace. Then my phone buzzed. It was Peter, my elderly neighbor from across the street. His text read, "Everything okay over there? Looks like people are at your place tonight." My heart jumped. No one knew my address. No one was supposed to. I called him immediately. "There are cars in your driveway," he said, sounding uneasy. "Lights on inside. I even saw balloons through the window. Thought maybe you were having a party." A party? My stomach sank. I opened the home security app I'd installed that very morning. Just new homeowner paranoia. I'd told myself. And what I saw made my blood run cold. My family. There they were. Balloons tied to chairs. Music echoing through my living room. Wine glasses catching the light as people laughed and clapped. My mother, my father, Aaron's wife, Megan. Their kids running around on the rugs I hadn't even unrolled yet. And right in the center, Aaron, standing tall with a glass raised high, grinning like a movie star. "Here's to new beginnings," he said, loud enough for the camera's mic to catch. "The Drexler family home is back where it belongs. Back where it belongs." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. The rage that built inside wasn't hot. It was cold, quiet, controlled, the kind that settles deep in your bones. This wasn't just trespassing. It was theft, not of my house, but of meaning. They'd taken the one thing I built entirely on my own and claimed it like it had been theirs all along. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I picked up my phone and called the police. Calm, steady. "There are intruders in my home," I said. "Do you know them?" the dispatcher asked. "Unfortunately," I said. "Yes." By the time I arrived, the flashing lights painted my dream home in streaks of red and blue. I stood on the sidewalk, rain pouring down, my jacket plastered to my skin, and for the first time in my life, I didn't step forward to fix things. I just watched. Aaron came out first, still holding his glass of wine. smirking like this was all some harmless misunderstanding. He told the officers it was family property, that he'd helped pay for it. He even gestured to our parents, saying, "They'll vouch for me." Then I stepped forward, the deed in one hand, the mortgage papers in the other, every page signed by Madison Drexler, all legal. "All mine." The officer looked at me. "Do you want them trespassed, ma'am?" I looked at Aaron, really looked at him, and realized something. I didn't feel guilt anymore. I didn't feel fear or shame, just exhaustion. "Yes," I said quietly. "I do." They led him away in cuffs. Megan screamed from the porch. The kids cried, confused. And when the police cars finally drove off, the silence left behind was heavier than any sound I'd ever heard. You'd think I'd feel relief, standing there surrounded by flashing lights and shattered memories. But I didn't. I just felt grief. Not for losing them, but for finally seeing who they truly were. The next morning, the calls began. Mom first, her voice trembling, not with sadness, but with fury. "How could you do that to your own brother, Madison? Not why was he in my home, not how he could betray me, just blame, always blame." Then Dad called. His voice was calm and cutting like a knife wrapped in silk. "That house was meant for family," he said. "You can't keep everything for yourself." I almost laughed. "Family doesn't break in, Dad." But I didn't bother saying it. People like that never listen. They only defend the story that keeps them comfortable. Aaron, of course, spun his version to anyone who'd listen. Said he'd given me money for the down payment. That the party was just a family surprise before I moved in. And because I'd always been the quiet one, everyone believed him. Cousins like Isabella and Janice flooded social media with sympathy for him. But I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in my entire life, I didn't need their approval, their version, or their love. That night, I stood in the same window where Aaron had once toasted his fake claim and whispered the same 3 words that had started it all. "This is mine." Aunts like Virginia, even old friends who hadn't texted in years suddenly had opinions. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe you should forgive him. Forgive him for what? Existing louder than me. That was the moment I stopped trying to explain myself. Let the paperwork speak. Let silence defend me. But silence is lonely. The kind of loneliness that seeps into your bones when you realize you've outgrown the people who raised you. A few days later, Aaron showed up at my office. Same swagger, same grin. Didn't even knock. Just walked in like he owned the place. "Come on, Maddie," he said, flashing that smile that used to make Mom melt. "We can fix this. Just make it a family home. Don't be selfish." I almost admired his audacity, how easily he twisted guilt into a weapon. I leaned back in my chair. "You broke into my home, Aaron," he shrugged. "You locked us out." That's when I realized. I didn't even see it as wrong. I genuinely believed he was entitled to my life because our family had decided it. "You already took my childhood," I said quietly. "You're not taking my house, too." He stared at me, eyes narrowing. Then he leaned closer. "If you expose me, you'll destroy this family." "If the truth destroys the family," I said, "maybe it was never real." He left, but not quietly. Within hours, he posted online pictures of the house, captions twisted just enough to make him the victim. Said I'd stolen family property, gone greedy, cut everyone out. The comments rolled in fast. People calling me selfish, ungrateful. Every post felt like another blade. But for once, I didn't bleed. Because for the first time in my life, I knew the truth didn't need defending. It just needed living. I stopped answering the phone, stopped reading comments. I poured myself into fixing what they'd ruined, repainting scuffed walls, replanting crushed flowers by the porch. Every nail I hammered back in felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The house became my sanctuary. I'd wake up to sunlight streaming through those big windows, make coffee in my own kitchen, not a shared one where someone would complain about how I did it wrong. I'd sit on the back porch with a book, listening to the lake water lap against the shore. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was taking up too much space. I started small rituals. Friday nights, I'd light candles and cook myself elaborate meals. The kind Mom never let me make because it's too much fuss. Sunday mornings, I'd walk barefoot through my own yard, coffee in hand, watching the mist rise off the water. These weren't grand gestures. They were quiet reclamations of a life I'd earned. Peter, my neighbor, became an unexpected ally. He'd wave from across the street, sometimes bring over fresh tomatoes from his garden. "Good for you," he said, once sitting on my porch steps, standing your ground. Not everyone has the spine for it. Weeks passed. The noise faded and my house started to breathe again. Now at night, I sit by the big front window. The lake reflects the moon like it's holding something sacred. Sometimes I still hear echoes, laughter that isn't there, memories that refuse to leave quietly. But then the rain starts, soft and steady, and Thessalon's feels like peace again. People ask if I ever miss them. The truth. I miss the idea of them. The version I hoped they could be, but not the real owns. Not the ones who looked at everything I built and saw something to take. I used to think reclaiming myself meant revenge, that one day I'd make them see my worth. But now I know it's quieter than that. It's standing in a space you built with your own hands, breathing in the air and realizing you don't need anyone's permission to exist there. Sometimes late at night, I whisper, "This is mine," and for the first time, it doesn't sound like proof. It just sounds like peace. So, here at Revenge with Mary, we have to ask, was Madison wrong? Should she have just let it slide for the sake of family? Honestly, I don't think so. Look, I've covered hundreds of revenge stories on this channel, and this one hits differently because Madison didn't plan some elaborate takedown. She didn't scheme for months. She simply protected what was hers. And you know what? That's not revenge, that's self-respect. Their real tragedy here is that her own family couldn't celebrate her success without trying to claim it as their own. Aaron didn't just break into a house that night. He broke the last thread of trust Madison had left. And when someone shows you who they really are, especially family, believing them isn't cruel. It's survival. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't fire. It's simply refusing to let them rewrite your story. See you in the next one.